Hello everyone. We are outside on our front steps and we are on an episode of The Rachel Show. I'm just kidding.
Porch talk.
Porch talk. Ooh, I like that. I'm here today with my mom. Would you like to give a little background on who you are, what you do?
Welcome to my life.
I really should host my own talk show.
I'm Pam Straining.
Hi, Pam Straining.
Hi. I'm a mom. I'm
True.
a wife. I'm a clinical psychologist. Those are all the things that I do. There's more, but that's enough.
There's a lot more, but that's a good.
Those are enough.
That's enough. Oh my God, it's enough. Okay. This is going to be an interview with my mom about being a caregiver of a child and now currently a young adult, I like to call myself. Not quite
We
an
are gonna
adult.
run out of battery.
I'm not
before we
quite
get to
an
the
adult
first
yet
question.
because, there are some few factors. Don't really want to be an adult yet, but okay, so this is about being a caretaker and a caregiver of someone with IBD. So my first question is, did you ever, because I was young, I didn't have a lot of liberty over certain things, like I do now when it comes to advocating for myself and really knowing how to listen to my body. Did you ever question some of the decisions you made when I was young?
No. I think luckily, your dad and I have a pretty good partnership that if I was questioning something, I would fly by him and we would come up with an answer. I don't think we came up with solutions all the time, but we would go to people. We went to a lot of people, a lot of doctors to find answers. Yeah. So I think I was always questioning what was wrong, but I don't think I questioned my decisions.
Can you talk a little more about the process of taking your child to all of those doctor's appointments and what that's like as a parent? Because obviously I have memories of how it was for me.
It was awful.
But
it was awful. It felt like it was constant. I think that there were times where we actually had to give ourselves physical breaks from going to doctors because there were so many of them.
Which we even do that now sometimes.
Yeah. It was really hard. It was hard because there were other people in the house and everything had to get moved around to get to doctor's appointments. Yeah. The planning was draining and the going was draining, and then there was always the recovery. And then when you didn't, and then we weren't getting answers. So that's draining too.
Yeah. It's draining to prepare to go to the doctor's appointment. Yeah. To then be at the doctor's appointment, go through all of that, and then to still leave with no answers.
Right.
Yeah. Going off of that, did you question anything in kind of the same vein? Would you do anything differently? Obviously, this is hindsight is 2020, so we kind of know some of the things that we would have done differently, but
no, I'm not sure I would have. I think we changed doctors when we needed to change doctors.
We changed a lot of doctors.
Well, but originally, afterwards, when this last flare came, we went through a few, but initially, I don't think we did. I think the interesting thing is I made decisions based on information that I had, and once you went away to college, there was a lot of information I didn't have. So I could only do what I could do.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think I would have changed too many things. I mean, you wish for different outcomes, but I don't think I would have changed anything we did. I wouldn't have, changed our protocol. I think it was what it was.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about this too nowadays, like the way things ended up and the progression of things. Like in hindsight, there was a reason why we didn't do some things at certain times.
Yeah.
And we talked about that before.
Yeah, definitely.
So you talked about you and Dad being sort of a team. Did you ever feel like you were given a certain hat to wear and you had to? Did you ever feel like you had to serve a certain role and not deviate from it in terms of the family and also emotionally as well?
Well, I think the hardest role was when you were in high school and didn't feel well, and I had to be almost a disciplinarian to try to get you up to go to school. And but then I also had to give the caretaker, be the sensitive one who would pay attention. Pay attention to the symptoms. So I think that was really hard, trying to be the tough one who said you had to get to school, but yet trying to be the caring one who said, I know how hard this is. And that was really, really hard.
Yeah.
That was really draining.
To give you guys some background, I'm trying to explain like the school situation of like
you didn't every morning
I would wake up and I would think I was gonna throw up. I was just a mess. Mornings in general are really hard for me, I would say. Mornings and nights. My body kind of like is waking up and doesn't know how to properly function, and then starts shutting down. It doesn't really know how to function. So because we didn't know what was going on, she was just a mom who was like, you have to go to school. And then sort of once it elevated, that's kind of when we like took a step back, and then sophomore year I ended up finishing on homebound and things like that. Yeah.
Our neighbor's got a dog.
Our neighbor's got a dog. He is barking up a storm. This is nature. It's all natural. Going off of that, what was your hat to wear and your role as opposed to Dad or Ryan? That's my younger brother.
What wasn't my hat and my role?
Okay, we'll talk about that.
I was chef, I was cleaner, I was nurse, I was doctor, I was therapist, I was mom, I was traffic
That is a very loud truck.
I don't think there wasn't anything that I wasn't. I think it was pretty overwhelming.
I agree. And emotionally, like, you were the one who went to the doctor's appointments with me.
I was not the fun one. Dad and Ryan were the fun ones.
But you had a different role in the sense that you were there, we're the same.
I was information gatherer, researcher. All the.
And then they were sort of not removed from the situation.
They were comic relief.
Yeah.
They were comic relief.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do it well.
Yeah. I always say my brother is the funniest person I know, and my dad is. He's an adult, but he's a child in some way. Yeah. He's your third child.
True that.
Okay. What were some of the things that helped you get through, that you turned to as a parent?
I think, well, it was really interesting, and I didn't know this initially, and I tell people this all the time, and I did not do a good job of it initially. You have to put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yeah, that whole like fill your cup up.
Yeah. And I wasn't doing that. So I remember in high school, once you were not going to school, you were not going to school, and I kept thinking I would stay home to see if I could get you to go to school, or that even if we had decided you weren't going to school, like I had to be home. And then after a while I stopped doing that, and I'm like, we'd make the decision you weren't going, and I would leave and I'd go to the gym, and I'd get my workout in, and inevitably my day would go better. So I think that once I realized that I didn't have to sit in your misery with you all the time, I think that was a big change.
Yeah, because that's hard. Not only are you invested in your child's emotions, but like you also have to take the time out to process yours.
Yeah, for sure.
So what were some of the other things you like turned to in addition to that you would recommend for other parents to do? That kind of goes into my next question, which is, what advice would you give to caretakers of someone with IBD or a chronic illness?
I think what we both found when we look back is that there might have been support available, but you weren't ready to get involved in it. And so if you weren't ready, I just didn't do it either.
Yeah.
And I felt like I didn't have the time, and maybe that was a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, if there's one thing I regret and would have done differently, going back to the earlier question.
I think if we had gotten involved in support groups, we would have been much better off.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I went through a very heavy denial phase for a while, and I just don't think I processed all of it because I was so in the midst of it and I couldn't see that there was like the light that could be found in a support group. And I just didn't understand the concept that there were other people out there who had it because I was so trapped in my own world, I guess.
True.
So it kind of took me a while to get to where I am now.
Yeah. So I would say I think we're similar in our advice that if you are newly diagnosed and you recognize that this is you need to recognize this is a chronic issue, and even if you feel like you don't want to get the support, go make yourself do it.
Yeah.
Don't listen to that narrative of I don't feel like it, I don't want it. Go do it. I think it would have helped us both.
I mean, yeah, it changed my life once I did, and I think also our relationship, like because you are so invested and you've been there for everything, I would dump everything on you. But it's also hard because you were going through it all with me, but I was still the patient. I was the one with the pain. Well, at least like the physical pain. You took a lot of the burden of the emotional pain too. And I think that finding other people to talk to and not just dumping it on you all the time, and finding that solace too and that support network, like growing that support network.
Yeah, that would have
also helped our relationship in the end.
Yeah, I agree.
If you can think of one time, what was the lowest low? Like what was one of the hardest times? For you, for me, for us, within this room?
I think there were a few. Obviously, when you were in the hospital, that was pretty low. You had been sick for most of the year, and then by April of 10th grade, we had to put you in the hospital because we didn't know what was going on.
I remember.
And then a low was that we came out with no answer.
Yeah, that.
But you had Crohn's at that point, but they assumed since you were on steroids and it got better that you didn't. So that was a low.
Yeah.
I think another low was when you had the flare last year in 2019.
Yeah, I was,
because we thought we were past that part in life.
Yeah, I was,
which was a mistake. And had we been in support groups, maybe we would have known that we weren't past that.
Yeah,
in life.
I remember the first hospitalization, and I remember being in your guys' bedroom, and then I remember like going onto the floor and like crawling into the fetal position and like looking at Dad, and I was like, I can't take it anymore. And then we got in the car and you guys took me to the hospital, and that for me is still like one of the lowest points I think I've ever experienced and that we've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And then going through a week and a half or so in the hospital, tests, hooked up to tubes, and then being like, go home, we don't know what it is.
Right.
Yeah. And then also last year thinking that we got this under control, and then it has a mind of its own and I think also being away at school was hard, because when you're sick you just like want your parents.
Right. And I think that the highs come in transition, and came in the transition times.
What's the highest high?
I think the highest high was when we actually realized you were well enough to go to college.
Yeah.
Because you never know. So that was great.
Yeah.
And then similarly, like last year when we all made it to graduation, that was good.
I'm like crying under my glasses. You guys can't see.
Those were two. When we realized you could go away to school, and then last year when we all went back for graduation. That was a really fun weekend.
Yeah.
That was a great weekend.
I think those are pivotal because when you get sick, you don't know what the future is going to be, and it rocks your worlds, and you have a vision of like how the plan is going to be. And then in high school when I was on homebound, like I had no idea that I was going to be able to graduate and then even go off to college and be away and live that life and be on my own. And then once I had my flare in college, I didn't know if I was going to graduate. I didn't know if I was going to go on to work. Like I had no idea what was going to happen. So like I feel like those are those milestones that we almost for a really long time like didn't think were going to happen. Okay. Do you have any other questions? That
I didn't ask any questions.
That makes no sense.
No, I think you covered
Closing
it.
statements. Anything.
It's a hard life. You just work and get through.
Yeah.
was no other choice.
Love you.
Love you too.